People were almost certain Novak Djokovic would be walking home with his 100th title on Sunday at the Miami Open. The cake had been ready and made and was ready in the fridge. James Blake had the big 100 numbers already in the back for Novak to pose in front of with the trophy. And then 19-year-old Jakub Mensik just had to play one of the best matches of his career and take down his idol in 2 tiebreak sets to win his first ever ATP Tour title. Of course, I'll break down how Jakub shocked Novak and much of the tennis world, and why the Czech hasn't gotten the same level of hype that some of his other currently less accomplished next-gen stars have. Hey, I'm Christian Bassnight, and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you have not yet already, make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell so you are notified whenever I post more tennis content as we now transition into the clay swing. So there was a lot going on before this match even started. We didn't begin play at least until about 5.5 hours after it was originally scheduled to be played due to the rain delay and the women's doubles final still needing to be finished. And we also saw pictures of Novak with his eye considerably swollen. It seemed to be looking like a sty, but the rain delay, it gave the serve more time for the swelling to go down a little bit more before the match actually started. But the Joker was clearly struggling with that eye in the early part of the match, and he used eye drops a few times on the changeovers too. Possibly this is why he came out a little bit flat and played a poor opening service game for himself to get broken right off the bat, despite being pretty much flawless on serve, especially in the semifinal against Grigor Dimitrov. But credit should be given to Mensik for getting his returns back in play and forcing Novak to get into longer rallies, which is something the Serbian didn't really see too much from in that semifinal. Still, I knew it'd only be a matter of time before Novak would hit his second gear, and at 2-4, that's when he took advantage of Mensik's second serve looks, and he got on top of much of the rallies, as well as incorporating some more of a few slices, which disrupted Jakub's forehand especially. Novak broke back, and from this point on, the Serbian was rock solid on his serve. He finished the match serving 76% of first serves in, which is 9 percentage points higher than Jakub. He also won 77% of first serve points, which is equal to Mensik, but Jakub did have the edge in having twice as many aces, 14 in fact, and the Czech also had a slightly better second serve points, 1 percentage, 4 percentage points higher than Djokovic at 54%. But what makes Jakub's serve truly special and such an effective weapon is the placement of it. Taylor Fritz, he said after he lost to Mensik in the semifinals, how that was the biggest improvement that he noticed in Jakub's game compared to when he first played him at the 2023 US Open, where Mensik was he had just turned 18 years old. And there the team only won 3 games in a best-of-5 match. And of course, he beat Fritz 7-6 in the third set in the semifinals. Fritz said in his semifinal press conference, he had a big serve, but he didn't place it that well. I was able to be just on his serve all the time. It was big, but he didn't hit his spots. The spot serving was intense. I really should have started guessing and picking sides more often instead of trying to react and use my reach like I normally do. I felt like he either missed the serve or he hit it within an inch or two of the line. I really should have just started guessing. And we saw that on full display in this final against Novak. What impressed me really was how Jakub out-Novaked Novak by being the superior tiebreak player, of course. Mensik was really clutch all week, all tournament, and he finished with a perfect 7-0 tiebreak record. And it really was a coming-of-age moment for Jakub, because he had a strong reputation, I feel, in the locker room of choking badly in the tight moments, notably in the Australian Open. I believe it was the 3rd round. He led Davidovich Fokina by 2-0. He was leading, I believe, serving for the match at 6-5, led 30-love, and he ended up losing the match in 5 sets. But against Novak in these breakers specifically, he elevated his level even higher and went into lockdown mode, as commentators like to say Novak does in these tiebreakers. He clocked down some excellent serves, and he made the serve play a lot from the ground by making a good number of his returns. On the flip side, Djokovic just could not match Jakub in these crucial moments, which we hardly ever see from him because he's always been so clutch in these tiebreak moments. It is important to note that while Jakub's serve is the most important aspect of his game and helping him get the title, other aspects of his game too were critical, extremely critical in his success. First, the forehand. Mensik, he still has some flaws on that forehand wing, and Jim Courier highlighted that in his match against Fritz, as sometimes his swing pattern doesn't really allow for him to be as accurate when he hits it with pace, especially as Mensik does tend to drop the racket head kind of early compared to other more stronger players with forehands, with better forehands. But Novak really wasn't able to quite exploit that sometimes shakier forehand wing of Mensik because first, Jakub was just so strong behind his serve. He didn't really have the opportunities to really press Mensik's forehand. And then also, I think Mensik's forehand was still solid overall. His ground strokes overall were solid, but the forehand was pretty good. And that forehand inside out, I think, was a very, very effective weapon here against Novak in this final. And probably that's his best shot from that forehand side. I was also impressed by Jakub's rally tolerance. And oftentimes, I feel like he outlasted the Serbian in those lengthier baseline exchanges, especially in the latter stages of the match. And I feel like that's one a testament to Jakub's improved fitness and his improved consistency because first of all, Novak's backhand is world class, but Jakub actually held his own from that wing. And quite a few times, really, the Czech stunned Djokovic with some incredible backhand down the lines. A lot of times he painted the line too on that backhand side. On the flip side though, I think we saw Novak kind of struggling with his age, and still he of course is 37 years old. And a lot of times we kind of saw him flopping around the court, kind of like going down the ground, being very much dramatic, which I was very entertained by. I kind of enjoyed it. But the fact that Jakub was able to outlast him in a lot of the longer rallies shows that he's definitely no spring chicken. And with the humidity in Miami, it made it all the much harder for Novak out there. I think in the second set, Jakub had more looks at breaking as he literally had a couple 2-break points at 2-all in that second set, but Novak, giving credit to him, he was pretty solid and staved them off. I was expecting a boomerang break after Novak saved those break points, and as he was really fired up, and I thought it would be a big turning point in the match, but Mensik was too solid in this next service game. But then at 3-4, Novak had his best look at breaking in the entire second set as he had 30-all and deuce looks, but Mensik was just so incredibly clutch. At deuce, he hit 2 back-to-back aces to serve out the game, and that's when I really knew that he was the truth. Really, Novak had no good solid reads on Mensik's serve at all, as Jakub's service toss is so consistent and it's hard to decipher whether or not he's going to slice it or go flat down the tee. It's tough. But again, I can't state it enough. I was just so impressed by how Mensik was able to close out that second set because I thought for sure we were heading to a decider, but he just stayed so mentally strong again in that second set tiebreaker and just was the better player and proved exactly why he deserved to win this title. Talking a little bit about Novak, I of course mentioned that he didn't seem 100% as far as his eye and then also all the dramatics. Talking about his eye, he said afterwards in his press conference that he didn't really want to give excuses for the loss and he didn't really talk much about it. He was very mute in his post-match press conference, which isn't quite like him. Normally he expounds and gives a lot of answers. So I think that low-key indicates how kind of disappointed and pissed he was about the loss, which is of course understandable. Still, this was a very positive tournament for Nole. He of course made another Masters final, which is an incredible feat. The draw was good for him here, of course. He played a few of his pigeons, but he still played phenomenal tennis, of course. And he said himself that this was the best he's felt form-wise since the Olympics. And it's just a great thing that he's out here healthy and competing, and he still seems pretty motivated to win these big titles. That being said, Djokovic will be highly disappointed to not come away with the win. This was a great chance for him to win 100, their title number 100, and he had a chance in Shanghai. He also made the finals and was one win from reaching or winning that 100 title. But there he played Jannik Sinner, of course, by far the best player in the world right now. But here against Mensik, he was the overwhelming favorite. We even had like Patrick McEnroe talking about, oh, since Novak's going to win his 100 title today, can you name the other people who have won 100 plus titles? Not only was Mensik lower ranked, 54th in the world, he had never won a title, let alone a title of this magnitude, and was playing his idol. People just got the assumption that he wouldn't have what it takes, even if it gets down to the clutch time of getting the W. But he showed us that Mensik has that dog in him for sure. He has it. And it was just unfortunate for Novak that he had to come across such an inspired opponent. I think low-key, if he played Taylor Fritz, he would have won. He enjoys that Fritz matchup a lot more. And even though he beat Jakub the last time they played, or the first time they played in Shanghai, Jakub made Novak uncomfortable. And you had some of the commentators say that Jakub low-key kind of has some similarities with Novak and game-wise. And I see that a little bit. Fritz doesn't have really a lot of what it takes to consistently trouble Novak or to beat him. He just doesn't have that moxie that Mensik does right now. Simple as that. I do think Novak will eventually win Title 100, but I think it's going to be unlikely that at this point he reaches Connor's all-time record of 109 ATP titles. I think Sinner will be his biggest threat from accomplishing title number 100, as that will return. Sinner will return in Rome, which I believe, of course, will only make it harder for him to not only win just a title period, but also that 25th major. Best of 5 will be tough for the 37-year-old for sure too, but I still think with the way he played this week, he still has a chance, of course. Obviously, it's sad for Novak that he did not win his 100th title, but I feel perhaps even worse for the tournament director, James Blake, because I just know he pulled out all the stops. Again, ordered that big, nice 100th title cake, just did it up, probably hired a video editor to make this montage for Novak, all for it to come to nothing. And I don't know, I guess he got to donate some of those 100 title props to Monte Carlo or something, to the next tournament, but that's tough. I feel like I'm one of the only people who actually thinks about stuff like that, but it was definitely on my mind. Now on to glazing Mensik. Just what an incredible effort for him. Just big, incredible composure for him to pull this off against your idol, then to be playing for your first ever title. That's so tough. Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, I can tell you that himself, but to do this on such a big stage too, you're also your first Masters 1000 title. I believe Mensik became the 4th player to win his first title out of 1000. So it's such, words can't describe what an incredible feat that is. And I thought for sure, again, that we would go 3 sets, but he continued just being so clutch and firing off with that big serve of his, only hit 1 double fault the entire match. And again, he had that reputation of choking in the big pressure type moments, but I think this win will kind of absolve him of that choking gene, to be honest, because obviously if you're able to win all these tiebreak sets in a row, then you have some type of mental clutchness in you. And Jakub mentioned in the trophy ceremony that he came very, very extremely close to not even playing this tournament. He said that he was struggling with the knee problem, couldn't even run without pain, and he was actually en route to the tournament referee's office to withdraw. He had a slip in his hand, but the ref was on lunch, so he decided to go to see the physio and get treatment, and that helped him feel better, and the physio is the one who inspired him to continue playing on with the pain, and the rest is history. So and that's so insane. It's such a crazy but unbelievable story. He started the tournament 54th in the world, and he leaves now up to 30 spots to 24, a new career high. And Jakub is also the 2nd youngest man in Miami Open history to win this title. Accomplishments like this make me think if Jakub will eventually be in the likes of this generation's great players like Jannik Sinner, of course, and Carlos Alcaraz. I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit too early to tell. If I do have to lean towards yes or no, I'm leaning slightly towards no. I feel like he'll still be a little bit of slightly a step below Sinner, Alcaraz, especially Sinner right now. I do think he will get a slam at some point in his career, at least one. He has the game for it, and he's already proven, of course, with his title that he has the potential to beat the best of the best. So, of course, a slam, I think, can be in his future. People have been overlooking Mensik for quite some time, even throughout this tournament, until the semifinals, I believe. And he was the highest ranked teen even before this tournament started. He was ranked higher than Fonseca and Leonard Tien. And he has some incredible wins too throughout this event. Of course, he beat Jack Draper, the Indian Wells champion, Arthur Fils in the quarterfinals, a fellow good, excellent next-gen star, 20-year-old Fils. He also defeated Taylor Fritz, of course, and then now Novak. That's 3 top 10 players in this tournament, which is, again, incredible. Mensik does not get the same hype as Fonseca. He never has, and I think he never will, unfortunately, for him being transparent. And that's even if he eventually has a better career than Joao does. The tennis community is very selective in picking and choosing who it wants to be their next star, and it happens very early, and unfortunately, Mensik never got that early attention and early praise. And he had 5 top 10 wins before this Miami Open, too. And recently, he took down Casper Ruud at the Australian Open in the 2nd round, and Ruud was seated higher than Rublev was, who Fonseca beat. And of course, once Fonseca beat Rublev, the whole tennis world just blew up. And they're already putting him in that next big 3 conversation with Sinner and Alcaraz. But Mensik's win over Ruud absolutely made no noise. Like, people weren't talking about it at all. And some people who really are in tune with tennis knew that that win over Ruud was not a surprise at all. Because again, if you are kind of more of a diehard tennis fan, you've known for a minute how good Jakub is. Of course, Shanghai, he is where he had one of his earlier breakthrough moments. But again, like, he's shown great form throughout. He beat Felix at the U.S. Open last year. Of course, I mentioned earlier he had that run to the U.S. Open third round back in 2023, and that's when he first got on my radar, and I've been following him ever since. Personally, I think the hype train with Fonseca was way too intense and extreme for Joao. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve the attention he's gotten. I just think it was a little bit much. Like, it was just very, very early. Yes, he did win the Next Gen Finals and he won the U.S. Open Juniors, but I guarantee you if Lerner won that, or if, Jakub won both of those titles, the hype would still be extremely, there would be a big disparity in between the hype. I think hype has a lot to do of where a player is from. Joao, of course, he's from Brazil, and if you're good and you're from Brazil, Brazilians do go hard for their own. And if you're good in tennis and you're Brazilian, you're going to be a star, I feel. If Jakub was Brazilian, he would have received similar hype to Fonseca. Simple as that. It just doesn't really get people as excited seeing that he's from Czechia. And that's no diss against Czechia, the country. I know I probably have some listeners who are from Czechia. I'm not trying to be offensive, but that's the reality that for some reason, people just aren't excited by him being from Czechia. It's weird. Maybe if he was American, possibly, or if he was British, maybe. I don't know, but yeah, and I also do think that it has to do with the player's game style. Mensik, of course, he has that big serve. He does have some solid ground strokes, big ground strokes, but his game isn't quite as flashy as Fonseca's is. So that's another reason of why Fonseca has a little bit more hype. Regardless, I think that this Miami win will garner more attention onto Mensik, of course, because people will respect him more. He beat the GOAT, Djokovic, in a final to win his first title. That deserves so much praise and attention. He wrote on the camera, too, that this will be his first title of many, which I think is a big statement in itself. And it shows that he's confident and hungry and going to be gunning for more big titles. And he hopes to have a really great career, which I believe for sure he will. Talking about the Miami Open tournament as a whole, I feel like this has been the best men's tournament that we've had in a pretty long time. I can't remember a tournament that's really given it like this as far as the incredible matches that we've seen. Just to name a few, there was Monfils against Munar, Fils against Tiafoe was crazy, Fonseca's matches against Lerner and Alexei Minor were also extremely good. You also had Dimitrov against Fernando Lo, incredible crazy match. Then Fritz Berrettini and then Mensik Fritz. I feel like I'm missing a couple more, but I think this proves, and then one of my friends, Anastasia of Ground Pass Podcast, she said it best herself when she said, this tournament proves that we don't need to rely on Carlos Alcaraz to always entertain us. Because Carlos, he of course lost early second round, and we had one of the best tournaments that we've had in a long time. And I do believe that Jannik Sinner not being here also played a little bit of a role, because if he were here, I'm not saying he would have won the whole thing if he were here, but he would have really made a lot of matches, I feel, less interesting due to how good he is. Simple as that. Now, talking a little bit about the women's, because I did not make a post-women's final recap analysis video, because being quite honest, I was tired and I didn't have the motivation to do so, because what we pretty much predicted would happened as Sabalenka, she defeated Jessica Pegula 7-5, 6-2 to claim her 8th WTA 1000 title and 19th title overall in her career. This is also her second title of the year, as she won Brisbane, but this is her first big title of 2025. This was definitely a strong statement from Sabalenka, because a few people were wondering that whether or not we'd be entering into a new era, as the past few title winners, none of them were ranked inside the top 10. And Sabalenka, she definitely reclaimed her throne. She proved exactly why she's the world number one with this incredible effort she had this tournament. She didn't drop a single set, and she beat 3 top 10 players en route to the title, which is the first time she's ever done such a thing. She defeated Qinwen Zhang 6-2, 7-5 in the quarterfinals, followed by Jasmine Paolini 6-2, 6-2. And then, of course, in the final, she defeated American Pegula, which I already mentioned the score, 5-2. And she also defeated the defending champion, Danielle Collins, in the 4th round, 4-4. So her draw wasn't that easy, but also it was a comfortable draw for her as far as playing players that she enjoys to play. Not saying that it was an easy draw, but it was a solid draw for her. Yeah, and it's good too, because she didn't necessarily play her best, especially in the quarterfinals and in the finals themselves. She played by far probably one of her best matches of the year. probably her best match of the year in the semifinal against Paolini. But the fact that she didn't play her best in the quarterfinal and the final and she still came out in straight sets is a testament to just how good she is. And now I believe she enjoys a 3,000 point lead over the world number 2 Iga Swiatek. And she's going to be ranked number 1 for a very, very long time, I feel, at least until the U.S. Open, as she didn't play Wimbledon, and Iga is going to be defending a lot of points on the clay, which transitions me into the next topic of, like, what should we expect for the clay swing? Before I do that, I kind of jumping around. I also want to mention, too, got to show love to, of course, Alex Ayala for her run. And that was probably the moment of the tournament, even though Sabalenka won. That captivated so much of the tennis world. So got to talk about that. And also Victoria Mboko. She only made it to round 2. She lost to Paula Badosa, but she showed incredible promise. And that's another player for sure, too, to look for in the coming weeks. Now talking about the clay, I think all eyes will be on Iga to see whether she can elevate her level and finally, get rid of that finals drought and win a title. She has not won one since Roland Garros. I think this will be, I don't know, make or break might be a little bit too extreme, but it'll be important for her for sure and her confidence. And it's going to be even more important for Wim Fizet and his job career. And then with Sabalenka, it's going to be interesting to see what she does too, because she said after she won Miami that she's going to be looking to threaten Iga's dominance on the red dirt, which I think for sure she has the potential to do. She had a great clay swing, I think, even though she didn't win a title. She made the finals of Madrid, where she really probably should have won that title. Then she made finals of Rome. Really should have made the finals of Roland Garros too if it weren't for that bad stake that she had, because she was playing so well there. So I think I wouldn't put it past Sabalenka to go on another great run in the clay swing and perhaps win Roland Garros. Also got to look at Coco Gauff. Can she and also Carlos Alcaraz kind of turn their season around a little bit more on the dirt, where they have had good success in the past? And then also the young guns, Joao Fonseca, Jakub Mensik, Mira Andreeva, and even Ayala, can they continue to make good strides on the dirt? Then can Jannik Sinner pick back where he left off as he returns in Rome? And then can Novak Djokovic get that 100 title and perhaps take advantage of his absence? So many big stories to look forward to, and I'm really looking forward to it myself, but I got you covered for whatever happens, so make sure you stay tuned to what I have in store. That is all I have for this latest update video. Let me know your thoughts on Mensik's Miami Open win, and how good do you think he can be? Do you believe that he can be a slam champion one day? Also, let me know if you think that Novak will eventually get to title number 100, and if so, when will he do that? Then also feel free to drop your early picks of who you think will be the big winners of the clay swing. Again, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I post more content. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support, and I'll see you all next time here on Christian's Court.